Get started. Good morning, everybody. Today is September 24th, 2024. This is your regular board meeting for the Lake County Board of Supervisors. We will begin today with a moment of silence, and I'm going to pass this on to Supervisor Paiska.
Yes, so last week we learned of the passing of Brad Honorado, Congressman Thompson's Deputy Chief of Staff, and really a massive champion for our district. He was always there. So many of our community members have personal stories where Brad just dropped whatever he was doing to help them through issues. I know everyone on this board has had those interactions with him even before coming to office. It's a tremendous loss. And Mike Thompson, Congressman Thompson, did make a Facebook post Thursday night calling him family. And when I think of Congressman Thompson without Brad, it's hard for me to even wrap my head around it because they were so intertwined and together and just a force, and sometimes like an old married couple because they've been working together for so many decades. So my heart just goes out to our congressman and all Team Thompson, and each of us that have had these interactions and incredible stories to hang on to Brad's memory. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything.
I think you said it really well. Thank you very much. Supervisor Paiska, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is consideration of extra items not appearing on the posted agenda. We do have an extra item here related to the moment of silence we just have. This came, the knowledge of Brad's passing came to our attention after the fact of the posting of the agenda. We want to take action based on the request from Mike Thompson, and I apologize. The request from Mike Thompson came after the posting of the agenda. We want to take action on that prior to the next agenda item in order to match what other cities and counties are doing, and hence why we're asking for this to be an extra item. Any questions or comments? I want to open it up for the public. Anyone wish to speak on this item? I see no hands in the Zoom room. Please raise your hand if you wish to speak, and we'll call on you. And please come on up to the mic if you're in the chamber. I love seeing a packed chamber. All right, let's go ahead and bring it back to the board for action.
Want to do it?
I'll go ahead and move. Sorry, let me get it. I'll move to consider the extra item, and that's what I do first, right?
Is that good enough?
Second.
Because then we'll take it up later, right?
Yeah, we're not doing the actual item itself.
Correct. As an extra item and on the basis that it came up after the posting of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And just want to go back real quick and thank staff for helping get this put together real fast. And of course, thank you to Vice Chair Crandall as well for being involved. Let's move on to the consent agenda.
The item itself now.
What was that?
We can do it one.
We're going to do it real quick after this, so we're going to go through. I want to make sure we go through our presentations first. We have a lot of people here who are excited to receive some certificates and be acknowledged. Consent agenda. Any items to be pulled from board members?
5.9.
Okay, we have 5.9. I'd like to pull 5.8 and 5.10 as well. Anything further? All right. Anyone from the public wish to pull a item from the consent agenda? See no one moving and no one raising their hand, so bringing it back to the board for action.
Move to approve consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.7 and 5.11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will get to those items at a later time. Next up is our 9:02 a.m. public input. Anyone wish to speak on anything not related to an agenda item on our agenda, please come on up. You have 3 minutes. I see no hands in the Zoom room and see somebody moving, but not to the microphone in the chamber. And so let's go ahead and close public input. Don't believe I saw a pet here today. Am I mistaken?
No.
So we will go ahead and pass over that and go straight to our presentation of proclamation declaring September 27th, 2024 as Native American Day in Lake County, our 9:05 a.m. item.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. All right, Board of Supervisors, County of Lake, State of California proclamation declaring September 27th, 2024 Native American Day in Lake County, California. Whereas Lake County has been home to people for greater than 12,000 years and the richly diverse cultures of the 7 tribal nations to Lake County: Middletown Rancheria of Pomo Indians of California, Khoi Nation of Northern California, Big Valley Band of Pomo Indians, Scotts Valley Band of Pomo Indians, Abemetal Pomo of Upper Lake, Robinson Rancheria of Pomo Indians of California, and the Elam Indian Colony have informed every aspect of our community's history. And whereas Native Americans have helped to make our community stronger and more prosperous. And whereas we celebrate the richness of the county's unique tribal history and traditions and the impact Native Americans' cultures have had upon every American. And in 2019, our board took the historic step of declaring each second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples' Day in Lake County, an affirmation of the commitment to honoring this unique, powerful local history. And whereas the Lake County is committed to protecting the sovereign right of Native American tribal organizations and institutions to strengthen their own communities. And whereas in observance of Native American Day, the County of Lake encourages all citizens to join in recognizing the accomplishments, contributions Native Americans have made to our county, and salutes those who have sought to honor the important role of tribal leadership in our county's past and present future. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Lake County Board of Supervisors declares Friday, September 27th, Native American Day in Lake County, California. Passed and adopted the 24th day of September, 2024, signed by the Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Bruno Sabatier. So thank you very much. You know, I did just want to make a comment. Most tribal leadership will be at the Capitol on Friday. We have the showing of our flags. We have a lot of traditional stuff happening over at the Capitol on Friday from, I think it starts from 10 to 2. So most tribal leaders will be down there at the Capitol taking our flags down and, honoring every tribal nation in the state of California. Also just want to commemorate this year is the 100th anniversary of the Indian Citizenship Act that was passed by President Coolidge. So for the first time in the country's history in 1924, Native people were basically made citizens of the United States, partial citizens. Not every state could we vote in still at that point, but we were no longer considered just animals or, non-native citizens here in the state of California. So it was a huge step for us. I just want to commemorate that year. Still have a lot of battles as far as our religions went up into the 70s where we could even practice our culture and our religions. But I wanted to state that day today for the indigenous people, the original inhabitants of this land. 100 years ago, we actually were able to be made partial citizens of this country. So it's a monumental year, and we'll be celebrating that at the Capitol. So, yep.
I'll just add one thing, because Moak pretty much said it all. With regard to the 1924 Citizenship Act, Ethan Anderson from Robinson Rancheria was a real intricate part to that. He went to the Carlisle Indian School and came back and helped. And what took place was veterans that served in World War I, that was a concern, because the folks felt like, well, we served in this war, so why can't we vote? And so it ended up working out. Most of the veterans got to serve. If they were a person that decided to relinquish from the tribe, they can be considered a citizen. And then in the 60s, during the Civil Rights Act, that's when the Native Americans were able to vote from there. And then with culture, the 78, that was a good mention. You had your Native American days or California Indian days, and we had our big time as well. I'm still sore because I had to dance twice, and I'm too old to be doing that, but hey, it's what it is. But thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. Thank you for bringing this to the board, and we'll probably see you on Friday, too. All right. All right.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yeah. I just want to recognize both of you for the impact that you've had on the county and the state, and it's your last time doing this, and I know we're going to have a lot of laughs this fall, but your leadership has significantly impacted the county and the state, and I was really happy to be able to drop by and celebrate that 30th anniversary. When I think about the impact that Middletown Rancheria has had on our community growing up, it's pretty profound. So thank you both.
I'm going to kind of mimic the same words. I appreciate what I've learned. I think that you have changed the way people interact overall and understand, because I think that until we make connections, there's a lack of understanding. And I know that, Moak, this is your last year, and all of us eventually will have a last year, and I sure hope that we keep doing this, no matter who it is that represents the people of Lake County at this dais, because I think it's important to make sure that we remember the past and we push everybody in the correct way into the future. So thank you very much.
This is going to be my last year, too, and among the things I'm going to take away from my service on this board is just how stunning it's been to serve with not one but two members of the Native community here. You know, plenty of issues bouncing around this community, and there's some people saying you can't change history. Well, you can. You can make history, and you two have definitely made history through your service on this board. And I think we can also acknowledge our history by understanding it better. And it's been both a privilege and an occasional smackdown to me of my own understanding of all the issues that do face our Native peoples here. It was a smackdown when I was still with social services, learning how to notice under the Indian Child Welfare Act, and learning belatedly just the systemic tragedies that have been visited upon our Native peoples, and the scattering of their families, and just centuries of disrespect. So I take a lot of heart with this, while also knowing how much more work needs to be done to open hearts and minds, and have your colleagues here on this room and in this room truly share and path and chart a new history together, instead of just documenting the things that continue to divide us. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Michael. And you guys did touch on something. The only Board of Supervisors in the state of California that's ever had two tribal people sitting on it. So it is a part of history. And Lake County can be proud of that, all the constituents. So it's something that'll, I hope, happen more often. But hey, part of history today. So good job, everyone. Thank you. that one up.
All right, 6.4, our 9:10 a.m. item. Presentation of the semi-annual Employee Service Awards for the County of Lake to recognize years of service. And Ms. Samick will be taking the lead on this. Please come on up.
I think I'm loud enough without it, but we'll try this. Thank you for coming today. We take time out twice a year in September and in March to celebrate the service of our employees. You are our most valuable resource that makes all the work happen in the county. We just want to take time to say thank you. We will call each department up and they will honor their employees. Our first department is admin.
I'll keep it short with everybody here. So first up is Johanna DeLong for 5 years, Assistant Clerk to the Board of the Supervisors. Appreciate everything she does for us. Second up is Terry Logston, our Chief Climate Resiliency Officer and Tribal Liaison, 5 years. And then going on to animal care and control, sorry. Jessica Leichman, Deputy Animal Control Director, 5 years. And that's it for us.
Next is the Auditor Controller.
She was just outside. There was no room. I saw her go back.
Okay, I'm going to skip her just in case she comes back, and let's do behavioral health next.
Well, where are you all? Come up. You know who you are. Holly Austinson. Holly Austinson is a substance use disorder counselor senior, and this is her 5-year anniversary. Wait, did we get a picture? You're not escaping without a picture. Okay, next we have Linda Bauer, who is a mental health case manager, and Linda has been working with us for 5 years. Thank you. Also celebrating 5 years, we have Ms. Janet Button. Come on up. Janet, she's an accountant. Also, our Ms. Lovely Lindsay Mason, who is also an accountant, and both Janet and Lindsay have been here 5 years. All right, I don't think she's present, but I do want to give a shout out to Patricia Messner, who is a supervising behavioral health clinician, also 5 years. Thank you, Patricia. And we have a 15-year anniversary as well, although unfortunately I think he played hooky on us today. I don't see him anywhere, but Mr. Edgar Ontiveros, he runs our La Voz de la Esperanza down in Clear Lake. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll do it out there. Thanks, guys.
And we're going to go back to the Auditor Controller. Ms. Genevieve.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me? I would like to announce Renee Littlefair, our payroll specialist, for 5 years of really hard work keeping payroll. So my pocket, thank you so much.
Child Support Services.
Good morning. I'd like to first announce Tanya Bravo, Child Support Officer, 5-year service. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. And then I would like to announce Mary Latte, Child Support Assistant, 10-year service. Thank you, Mary. Okay, this is Amy Jensen, Child Support Special Programs Coordinator, 30 years of service. Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm going to interrupt real quick. If you have to leave, please do so, but I would love to have you all stay so we can all celebrate together, if you could, please.
Next, we have Community Development.
Morning. I was standing real close so I could use that time that I would normally be walking up here to talk about my people. We have 3 5-year awards today. Michael Herringshaw, come on up, Code Enforcement Officer. And I decided to skip the part about how I've known him since he was like knee-high to a grasshopper and just talk about how intelligent he is and how he knows our code, but he also knows our county, and he works with compassion with our community. Simone Hingston, come on up, our plans examiner, 2. And I could talk about her intelligence and her Swiss pragmatism and her wit, but she just passed a CASP test, which is how we evaluate accessibility, compliance with accessibility laws in our plans. And I got to tell you, when I used to work for the county, a long time ago, there were like 2 CASP certified people in the county, like regular people. Now we've got 2 CASP certified on our staff, so that is a wonderful accomplishment. Thank you. Stay there. And then Shannon says, Community Development Technician. You are really lucky if you have somebody like Shannon on your team because she's no drama, very professional. You ask her to get something and it's like no big deal. She just does it, even though it's remarkable. And she's one of those people who doesn't bring a lot of flash to herself, but when she's gone, you feel it. So I'm very, very privileged to have these people on our team, and our county is lucky. Thank you.
Next, we have District Attorney.
Thank you. I have Claudia Mendez, our victim witness advocate, for 5 years. She is amazing. She's bilingual. She connects with people every day, and she's an incredible gift to our office. She's not here right now, but thank you, Claudia. Rich Watson is here, my chief. He's here 5 years. He worked his way up a little bit quickly. And I could not do my job without him. He's like there every step of the way, so thanks so much. Marcy Barnes is 10 years legal administrative assistant senior, and Marcy is just works so hard. She's unflappable. There's never gets stressed out. If she does, doesn't show. She's excellent. We wouldn't want to work without you having you there. Ed Borg, Deputy District Attorney, Senior, 20 years. 20 years. He's up in court. He's so well needed in there. And Art Groth, Deputy District Attorney, Senior, 25 years. He's in the office charging criminals. He didn't want to come, but he's a little bit shy. But thank you so much for all my staff. I really appreciate them.
Next up, we have elections.
Good morning. I'd like to honor Savannah Fate, Election Senior Specialist. She's been with the county for 5 years. So I want to give a personal shout out to Savannah. She's due in October with her second boy, so we'll miss you during election time, but congratulations on that. I want to also say that I've learned so much from Savannah. I've got to know her and see her grow not only on a personal level, but on a professional level. She graduated from Mendo College in 2021 and recently graduated from the California University of Northridge in May of 2024 this year. So I want to applaud her and congratulate her for all her hard work. It's been a pleasure working and seeing you grow. And there's more of Savannah to come.
Health Services.
Good morning. Well, I'm only going to take one of these, and then I'm going to pass it over to Craig for environmental health. So today we are celebrating Grace Guntavano with 10 years of service. And I don't see
morning.
Sorry.
I am absolutely stoked to introduce these service awards for these folks. First, I have Donna Cloninger, been with us 5 years, and Priscilla, been here 5 years as well. Both of these employees have absolutely outstanding, and we couldn't do any of the work that we do without them. Congratulations on your 5 years.
Oh, I think we already did it. When we were clapping, I think he spoke of Priscilla.
Well, let's Priscilla.
Craig,
Priscilla, I know I saw you here. Come on up.
Did they miss Priscilla? No.
And Priscilla is also celebrating 5 years. Thank you.
And next we have my team. I have 2 members with 5 years, Irondi Campbell. And Irondi has this amazing sense of humor, sense of organization. She has elevated our benefits game and presentations. Everything she does, she just takes on with gusto, and I couldn't be luckier to have her. And next, we also have celebrating 5 years, Frida Hames. She handles a great deal of our recruiting. Again, another person with a wicked sense of humor, a sense of joy, and I am very lucky to work with both of them. Thank you for your service. Next, we have the library.
She's not here today, but Amy Patton, our library technician, is celebrating 25 years, and we're so lucky to have had her for so long at the library.
Next, we have probation.
Good morning. First, we have Colton De Los Santos. He's 5 years with the county, and he's 1 year with our office. He's a deputy probation officer and does a great job. Next, we have Michaela Nolan. Michaela is a supervisor, deputy probation officer, and she is in supervisory training this week, so she can't be here. But she's got 10 years with the county. She's a great part of our team.
Public Services.
All right, well, good morning. We have two individuals to recognize on both ends of the spectrum for time. One is not here, and that's Will Kenner. He's a Parks Maintenance Worker Senior, 5 years. So Will Kenner, he chose to be out in the parks. He did. I invited him, for sure. And then the other end of the spectrum, and he has a picture of his family up there along with his other passion, which is fishing. Bob Allen, 35 years, and I think that's worth a big round of applause. So Bob's wife is here, and I'm not sure if it's to celebrate or to ensure that you continue working. So I'm gonna hope that it's the latter. Well, actually, I hope it's both, but I sure hope you continue. If you don't know Bob, shame on you. He's a wonderful human being. He knows he knows your buildings in and out. He's worked up from 1988 as an extra help grounds worker, I believe, all the way up now he's the deputy director for project and operations, primarily focusing on facilities and parks. But I've learned more from Bob than anyone else in my time here at the county. So I am grateful, and you all should be as well. So Bob, thank you for your service.
Public Works.
Hi, my name is Glenn March. I'm the new Public Works Director. I've been here 3 months, and one of the most special groups who work very hard is our Roads Department, and we have 2 of the stars of our Roads Department here. Our first person we'd like to congratulate is Daniel Wright. Daniel has been here for 15 years, 20 years. 15, 20, and Daniel is one of our road supervisors, so he is out there making sure the work gets done, as well as chipping in and making that extra effort to help everyone make sure the roads are in great shape. Our second person is James Stuckert. James is responsible for the paint and sign shop. So if you see all that new striping out there and new signs.
Next, we have the Sheriff's Department.
Feel like there's a quartet coming in.
Maybe they're gonna make it small for my glasses. Good morning. Good morning, Sheriff Rob Howe. We have quite a few, so I'm going to go through this quickly, then I'll say a few words at the end here. First, we'll start with Demetrius Donaldson, Deputy Sheriff 2. Andres Fernandez Alvarez, Deputy Sheriff 2. Tony Jackson, Deputy Sheriff 2. Jacob Masdeo, Sergeant Corrections. Stone Phillips, Sergeant Corrections. Deputy Sheriff Corrections Carl Potter couldn't be here today, but I'll give the name either way. Juan Villa Munoz, Deputy Sheriff Corrections. And John Wander, Deputy Sheriff 2. These are all of our 5-year recipients. I'll move on to one 10-year recipient. That'd be Jeffrey Mora. Deputy Sheriff Sergeant. Final three couldn't be here today. I'm going to go over the names fairly quickly. Aaron Clark, Deputy Sheriff Sergeant, 15 years. Dennis Keithley, Deputy Sheriff Sergeant, 20 years. And Jared Bassard, Sergeant Corrections, 25 years. And just a quick thank you to you all. I think we all know the value of our long-term employees. The experience, knowledge you bring is invaluable. I've said this before, I believe it to be true. The county doesn't run without you people, and I know my department doesn't run without these people. So thank you very much for your service. Thank you also to loved ones, family. 8 to 5 isn't a normal gig for us, so there's a lot of sacrifice made by family and friends to support these men and women in our department. So thank you all.
Next up, we have social services.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Page. Our director, Rachel Dillman Parsons, could not be here today, so I am presenting on her behalf. We have quite a list. She did write a little blurb about each person. I don't know, do we have time for that? Okay. First up, we'd like to recognize Jennifer Alfinda for 5 years of service. Jennifer is an administrative analyst for the director. Her expertise in all things, especially smart sheets and policy writing, makes her invaluable to the department. Next up, we have Noelle Boosty for 5 years of service. Noelle is our supervising analyst at Child Welfare. Her cheery demeanor and can-do attitude make her a delight to work with. Next up, we have Karen Kahn, 5 years of service. Karen is one of our office assistant supervisors at our Anderson Ranch office. Karen is chaos coordinator extraordinaire. She makes sure the public receives exceptional customer service from reception. Next up, we have Jeanette Foley for 5 years of service. Jeanette is one of our office assistants at Anderson Ranch. She has excellent phone skills and she excels at customer service. Next up, we have Sean Ford for 5 years of service. Sean is a social worker 3 at our adult services office. He is a great sport in addition to being an advocate for the elderly and for disabled adults. Sean can often be seen wearing a kilt to our DSS employee events. Next up, we have Adrian Jest, 5 years of service. Adrian is one of our systems analysts as well as our LCEA union president. Adrian is always friendly and approachable. He provides outstanding customer service to DSS staff. Next up, we have Michelle Lambert for 5 years of service. Michelle is one of our eligibility specialists. She joined DSS in reception. She then promoted to a lead position. Helping our customers is her passion, so she then transferred to eligibility, where she continues to help all of our customers. Next up, we have TJ Nagra for 5 years of service. TJ is a staff services analyst for foster care. He has abundant patience and excellent computer skills. He can learn just about anything he puts his mind to. And finally, 5 years of service, we have Rebecca Ogawa. Rebecca is a social worker 2 at Employment Services. She tackles every new assignment with a positive attitude and never hesitates to roll up her sleeves to learn something new. She has helped streamline workflows to help coworkers and customers alike. Moving on to 10 years of service. First up, we have Sarah Keen Pasalo. Sarah is our system support analyst at Child Welfare Services. She has extensive knowledge of the computer systems used at child welfare. She's always willing to help with data collection, and she is a great asset to CWS. Next up, we have Denise Ochoa for 10 years of service. Denise is a social worker 3 at Child Welfare. She works very hard and always has a great attitude. She works with families, inputs data, and is also in charge of our parenting classes for our clients. Next up, we have Shira Ruiz for 10 years of service. Shira is a staff services analyst at Adult Services. With experience in both administration and at Adult Services as an analyst, Shira excels in quality assurance reviews and at policy writing. Next up for 10 years, we have Amy Shemansky. Amy is the Deputy Director of our Adult Services Office. She is kind, knowledgeable, and unflappable. Her leadership is admired by her team and her peers alike. Next up at 10 years of service, we have Nichelle Winchester. Nichelle is one of our lead eligibility specialists. She keeps her team together and working no matter the challenges. Next up, 15 years of service, we have Irma Castro. Irma is a social worker 3 at Child Welfare. She's in the emergency response unit. Irma is kind and compassionate, and she is always there to support her coworkers. Next up, we have Tracy Keener for 15 years. Tracy is one of our wonderful accountants. She has been around for a long time, long enough to know just about everything there is to know about DSS accounting, and we are extremely grateful to her for her knowledge and guidance throughout the years. Next up, at 15 years, we have Michelle Lepe. Michelle is an eligibility supervisor. She keeps her unit on track and current despite our numerous staffing challenges we're seeing at DSS. If you need it, Michelle's on it, and she is quick to help with translation when needed. Next up, for 15 years, we have Sophia Pena. Sophia is an employment and training supervisor for our Welfare to Work program. She has amazing research skills and catches on quickly to anything new you throw at her. She has the ability to think on her feet and appears relaxed and comfortable in front of an audience. And finally, at 25 years, we have CJ Barker. CJ is a system support analyst at DSS. At 25 years, he has even spent more time at DSS than Rachel has. She remembers when she started at DSS, CJ was the expert with tons of experience, the go-to guy, after he'd been there 3 years. Thank you, CJ, for your dedication, immeasurable patience, and loyalty to our agency. And thank you to everybody for your dedication. We could not do this without you.
Special districts.
Good morning. We have one person from Special Districts celebrating 5 years. His name is David McGrath. I don't see him here. I believe he's out working on our electrical and mechanical equipment. And we appreciate all he does for us and the rest of the staff as well. Thank you.
Treasurer tax.
Hi,
Hi, so I'd like to recognize Erica Gutierrez. She's an accountant in our Treasury Division and is a great resource both in our office and for other county departments. So thank you again for all your hard work.
Next, we have admin again.
I think it would have been all right if she introduced herself, but Pam Samick, 5 years of service as a Human Resources Director.
Before I turn it over to the board for their comments, I just want to thank Cherish, who puts all of this together and hounds everybody for their pictures and does just an amazing job doing this. Thank you for helping to celebrate our employees, Cherish. And to close, I'll turn it back to the board.
So I think before we all speak, I'm going to make the motion to get up and give you the standing ovation you deserve. You are serving the public. We are in the spotlight and make these decisions that eventually impact you, but you're the ones making impact on the lives of the people that we serve here in Lake County. Thank you for your dedication. 5 years, you learn the process, you understand Lake County, you're able to flow through the process every single day. 35 years, holy smokes. We're going to have to create a new 5-year category just for you. Your dedication and your loyalty to serving the people that are your neighbors, your friends, your family is amazing. It's outstanding. Thank you so much. Any other comments before everybody leaves?
Too late.
Well, just to Pam, department head years, we measure like dog years. So I believe Pam is actually 35 years of service today, and I thank her for that.
And I do want to acknowledge how much we have to pivot during our emergencies. It's not just 9 to 5. It's not just being in the office and doing work or doing field work. It is so much more. And so thank you so much for always being there for the needs of our community. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break.
They bailed on you, Chair.
I just know that in the past, I'm like, I wanted to do a standing ovation. Thank you, EJ. All right, welcome back. We are going to real quick take up our extra item, and then we'll go ahead and continue to our 9:45 a.m. I just want to make sure that we get past this item first. 4.1, extra item, consideration of we're on Part B, consideration of lowering flags at county offices to half staff to observe the passing and recognize contributions of Brad Honorado, Deputy Chief of Staff to United States Congressman Mike Thompson, on Tuesday, September 24th and Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. That was a correction to what was written in the agenda. It is Tuesday the 24th and Wednesday the 25th. So this item is before us. There are specific requirements on, from the state and federal government on what can allow the flag to be at half staff. The county does not have a specific ordinance. However, it does say within the content of the law, I don't have it right in front of me, and other persons related to like congressmen or congresspersons or other things. And so we feel that it fits right into that. Brad Honorado was very special to us, did a lot of work for us, and I feel, myself and Vice Chair feel that he should be recognized for his work. And so today in front of us is for us to approve to lowering the flag at half staff and moving forward. Any comments or questions?
Just a quick notation on the memo, the dates, Tuesday and Wednesday is correct, but you have September 23rd is today and tomorrow is September 24th. So I assume you want to lower the flags today, Tuesday, September 24th, and Wednesday, September 25th. I see no other mistakes in the memo.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Supervisor Simon?
Just a comment to follow up on this, obviously in complete favor of getting it done, but I did just also want to recognize not only was Brad always an advocate for Congressman Mike Thompson here in Lake County as we work together, but we also work closely with him on the federal side. All the tribal nations in Lake County, Congressman Thompson is our representative, and Brad is always the ones that we reached out or through. So I want to acknowledge that of the work that he's done for our federal partners here in Lake County also.
Thank you for that comment. And with nothing further, let's go ahead and open up for public comment. I see no hands up in the Zoom room, no one getting up in the chamber. I will add one thing. I know that Supervisor Pyska brought to us a flag ordinance. I am looking at potentially bringing back an amendment to give us more flexibility so that when there is a request, we can act on that faster than having to wait till a board meeting. So something will be coming back in the future to see if that's something that the board approves. Looking for action.
Okay. I'll sure miss his calls and saying, Supervisor Crandall. That's how he said it, yeah. So I'll go ahead and move to approve this. Well, we already approved the extra item. Make appropriate findings and direct staff to lower the United States and other flags at county offices and facilities today, Tuesday, September 24th, right? 24th. Yeah. And tomorrow, Wednesday, September 25th, to half staff to honor Brad Honorado and direct staff to lower said flags as appropriate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, now we will go back to our 9:45 a.m. item, and it is a hearing, consideration of excess proceeds claim TDLS 160 APN 039465540. Mr. Sullivan.
All right, Patrick Sullivan, Treasurer Tax Collector. I'm here with Assistant Treasurer Tax Collector Liz Martinez. There should be a Michael Citron on Zoom right now from Unclaimed Financial LLC. I just want to confirm that he is present.
There is a Mike Citron in the attendees. If we can go ahead and upgrade him to allow him to speak. Just at this moment, let's just wait until a presentation is made, and then we'll.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We're going to go ahead and ask the tax collector to provide a brief presentation, and then we'll let you speak in a minute.
And I did have a procedural question for County Council. Do we need to be sworn in for this proceeding? Is this a reconsideration, and is that not necessary? I just want to clarify that.
So at this stage, the suggestion here would be no swearing of witnesses is necessary because essentially the board made a decision back in March 2024, and in effect, we're revisiting that in light of latest updates, which will be covered in this.
Okay, I just wanted clarification on that. So to provide some background on this, this is a claim that initially was considered on March 26th by your board. It's part of the excess proceeds from the land sale number 160 for APN 039-465-540. The amount being contested is $16,282. Unclaimed Financial is a company that at least attempted to get the interest assigned by Mary Ellis. Mary Ellis was the prior owner of record of this property. And so Unclaimed Financial submitted a claim, and you'll see the paperwork reflected in the board item. What's important to note, the reason their claim was recommended to be denied and not distributed is that there was not a signature from Mary Ellis, the actual owner, on their form. They had associated assignment forms, claim forms. They had a notary that stamped it and reviewed and certified that a signature had been witnessed. Yet there is no signature from Mary Ellis on any of those documents. For context, your board did consider another claim on this matter back in March. There was another company, the same type of company that Unclaimed Financial is. They did submit a claim. That claim did have Mary Ellis's signatures on it. So at that time, on March 26, your board approved the distribution of the $16,282 to that company for the benefit of Mary Ellis. At this time, because it's been because it was contested, rather, we have not distributed those funds yet. So before any further action is taken, we wanted to bring it back to your board and essentially ask your board to reconsider its decision from that day and make a determination whether Unclaimed Financial did submit a valid claim. In terms of obtaining further information, it may also be relevant to share that Mary Ellis has since passed away since this whole process began, so she is no longer available to provide any further detail. So I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Okay, are there any questions for tax collector? Seeing none, Mr. Citron?
Okay, so first of all, two things. I wasn't aware that an additional company made a claim. If I could be provided that information, I guess either now or after, what company made the claim. I guess we can deal with that after. But in terms of my claim, so basically, if you look, the assignment was filled out and signed. I sent Patrick and Elizabeth proof from the notary book, from the notary, that has her fingerprint, that Mary Ellis was in fact there, and she stamped the book, and the notary met with Mary Ellis. So all that is facts. I don't know if they showed you or not, but there is proof from the notary stamp book that Mary Ellis did meet with the notary to sign this assignment. Yes, my company would get a small fee from this, but the point is, I've been speaking to family members of this client. Most of the money goes to the family, which helps the family. You're talking about a property they lost and there's some extra money. So, I really would like that this claim should be approved on the facts that if you look at the page from the notary, every notary, when you do a notary, they fill out a book and a page and a stamp and a fingerprint. It's all there. The notary definitely met with Mary Ellis. She stamped her finger. This assignment was done by Mary Ellis at the time. I mean, they can show it to you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. We do see that fingerprint paperwork, but I think what is being provided for us also is the claim for excess proceeds to the sale that has signature from the Unclaimed Financial, but no signature for Mary Ellis. Am I correct in what I'm looking at here, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, Your Honor, Sabatier. When you look at that claim form and the assignment of interest, there is no signature from Mary Ellis on either of those forms. Typically on the assignment of interest form, and the way that I believe Unclaimed Financial itself has done it in the past, is you would see that signature on that document. So I understand the point that Mr. Citron is making regarding the notary being present, and it would appear that the notary did meet with Mary Ellis. But what the notary is doing, to my understanding, is certifying that they have witnessed that signature. But there is no signature to witness. There is no signature from Mary Ellis on those documents. So I don't see that it's relevant that a notary met with Mary Ellis that day. What is determinative is that there is no signature on any of these documents. And that's at least my, our office's position on it.
Well, I'm not denying that she.
And hold on, Mr. Citron. We're back to asking questions at this moment in time. Are there any further questions from board members?
Yeah.
Supervisor Green.
So again, I don't know where assignment of interest forms come from, but the exhibit here is shows not only did she not sign the form, there isn't even a signature field for the person assigning the interest on this particular form. There's a nice chunk of notary stuff at the bottom, but there's not even a signature line for the assignment, unless there's a second page of this form that I'm missing. So to staff's assertion, not only does the assignment of interest not bear a signature, there's not even a signature
Mr. Citron,
field.
please keep quiet.
So I think that is a flaw, and also going back to my notary days, it's been a few years, but they can and they do record the presence of something, but they make the presence of a notary stamp has nothing to do with the correctness of the document itself. So other than indicating that there was a thumbprint and she was there, it certainly is no assertion that this form was executed properly.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I want to open it up for public comment on this item. Anyone wish to speak on this, please come on up to the microphone. If you're in Zoom, please raise your hand and we'll call on you.
Hi, Elaine Brown. I have a question for the person. Can I ask the question of the person?
You can ask it to the board.
Okay, great. I've heard from a longtime residents here that there's several properties out there, houses that are just kind of sitting, and that it's a great way of getting income. But I have learned that if you do this, there is like a small fee for this person, this company, I guess, to do this, but the majority of the funding can go back to the families that have these properties that are just deteriorating in our hills. That would be great places for people to live and not deteriorate. So I just want to put that out there. And there is funding that it can go back to the families, a significant portion after you get your taxes. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Sullivan, that was the case that has been put on hold because of this appeal, am I correct? The 16,000 that's kind of on hold at this moment in time?
That's right. We have made no distribution at this time pending the board's decision today.
But you have received paperwork requesting the excess proceeds?
That's right. Your board, so there were two, just to be clear, there were two different companies that submitted claims based on an assignment of interest. Your board approved one of the claims where all of the documents were signed, notarized, the appropriate supporting documentation was present. Your board did not recommend distribution on this claim at that time. So one claim was approved, this claim was denied, and this is essentially a reconsideration of that decision.
Thank you for the clarification on that. I see no further hands up in Zoom or anyone getting up in the chamber, so I'll bring it back to the board. Since I know I heard from Mr. Citron, any last comments? Be brief, please.
Me?
Yes, asking if you have any last comments.
Yeah, can Mr. Sullivan tell me who the other company was that made the claim?
And what I would say is please reach out to Mr. Sullivan. I'm sure that he can pass that information on to you.
Okay, to address the other man, I don't know his name, who asked about right under where it says assigner signature, that is normally where the client signs. In this case, she missed the signature, unfortunately. But besides missing the signature, you see everything was done. The notary was there, the assignment was done. the notary stamped the book with a fingerprint that Mary Ellis was there. So, everything was done. She unfortunately missed the signature, but that shouldn't, not help her and the family get back this money,
All right, thank you very much for your final comments. Bring it back to the board for action.
Well,
Or comments.
Yeah, the signature is the point, so everything was not done.
And if there's nothing further, Chair, I move to deny the appeal of determinations
Mr.
for
Chair.
excess proceeds.
Hold on one second.
If I may.
County Council?
Sorry, just as for further clarification on the procedures of this, I do have for your board's consideration the recommended motion language. If I may, it would be a motion to deny the distribution of $16,282 excess proceeds to Unclaimed Financial LLC from tax defaulted sale number 160 pursuant to Revenue and Taxation Code Section 4675 for APN 039-465-540.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your help, Mr. Guantanamo.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Martinez. Okay. Moving on to our 10:15 a.m. item, consideration of an update on approved projects and proposed modifications to American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, state and local fiscal recovery funds, SLFRF funding allocations. Mr. Carter, to pass it on to Ms. Moreno.
Yeah, Stephen Carter, Assistant County Administrative Officer. I'll turn it right over to Casey, our Deputy County Administrative Officer.
Good morning, Board. So, Casey Moreno, Deputy County Administrative Officer for Finance and Budget. Today, I have in front of you the ARPA fund status. ARPA stands for American Rescue Plan Act, or State Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, or SLRF. So a little background. So in May of 2021, various local governments across the United States were awarded funds. This did include state, local, territorial, tribal governments. County of Lake was awarded $12,506,226. So $10 million of that was the standard allowance, which could be used to replace lost revenue due to the COVID-19 pandemic or any other governmental expense. The remaining $2.5 million was the non-standard allowance, which needed to meet guidelines specified in the Treasury's final rule. The board directed staff to redirect the former CARES ad hoc committee to facilitate recommendations to allocate the funds in a way that would best fit the community. All funds are to be spent by December 31st, 2024. Allocations which are under contract by December 31st, 2024 must be expended by December 31st, 2026. So just to give you an idea of the standard and non-standard allowance allocations, so just over $9.8 million is allocated for standard uses, with the remaining 2.6 for non-standard. The reason that we have more in the non-standard is just in case something is claimed and then is decided later that it doesn't qualify for non-standard, we don't have to pay it back because we have a little extra in that bucket. So for the completed projects, we have multiple that have already been completed and were completed early on. That includes ambulance support, First Five, Help Me Grow software, mobile library vehicle, Granicus clerk docs for the auditor's office, and content management system update and content updates. So we have multiple projects that are in progress. So that includes broadband, NCO build, the CDD plan updates, armory, and modernization of cybersecurity. These items with the arrows are planned to be completed by the end of 2024. Some of them are just paying for, like the public defender startup is paying for costs associated with getting that office up and running. And so there's no real contract for that, so that will end on December 31st of this year. Any remaining funds would need to be reallocated. So there's 3 new projects that are to be started, and so that includes the special district studies, Middletown multi-use, and Middletown Park. Those will be presented in the final recommended budget hearing coming up next for your approval. The other projects, we have been assured by the departments that those will be completed by the end of this year or under contract. So this is just a pie chart of the allocation to show you what has been completed, what's still in progress, both paid and remaining to be paid, and what will be started by the end of this fiscal year. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions, comments regarding the ARPA allocations?
So we got confirmation on the first 5 projects?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, the pie chart that you last showed, everything that's in progress, we have till December 2026 to accomplish those things. It's about getting that last sliver in contract in order to make sure that we're not giving anything back. And obviously, we want to accomplish all the other things that are in there.
Absolutely.
I know that we met as an ARPA committee. We discussed this in great detail. There was one that I just want to make sure that we cover that was in there, but it was kind of not necessarily alluded to in the finances. We gave $800,000 to NCO build, and what I saw on the chart today was that now it's at $1 million with $200,000 left over. Just wanted to mention that to make sure that the rest of the board was aware of that change as well that was made. And it's good to see the pie chart being so complete as far as what progress is being made, because 3 or 6 months ago, that's not where we were. So I appreciate the progress that we have made over that time. Any other questions or comments? Supervisor Green?
I just want to thank you, Chair Sabatier and Supervisor Pyska, for shepherding these funds through the ARPA process. There's a lot to do here. Most of this definitely predates my time on the board, but you've been able to do quite a bit, and I appreciate your leadership on that and the board's support of your direction.
And I will pass those kudos on to staff. Thank you very much for setting those meetings up for us and bringing us all these projects that departments are submitting. It's on their request, not our creation. But thank you. All right, let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item? No hands in Zoom. No movement in the chamber. Bringing it back to the board, and this was just a presentation. This will be fully approved within the final budget that will be occurring in very near future, after 7 more minutes. So thank you very much, and we will go ahead and let's go ahead and take up.
Just 2 seconds.
Apologize.
There is one thing I wanted to say about it with the NCO building homes. I don't believe we had the final number that would allow them to do their final cohort. We have 200 in there right now, which the committee approved, but we also, in the middle of that committee, approved whatever they kind of needed to make that cohort work. So once we get that data, we would bring either something back or be able to do it within standard budget transfers to make that change. I just wanted the board to be aware if it turns out to be 265, we would increase that allocation for NCO from 1 million to 1,065,000 if that's what it ends up being, and lower something else like public defender or one of the other ones that we as admin have control of. Just wanted you to be aware of that.
Also, I wanted to, I'm glad you kept talking, reminding me of our conversation yesterday. There may be some last-minute changes that are required to be made to ensure that we don't give any money back. Kind of like that same level of flexibility with then bringing it back to the board to let us know what needed to be changed at the last 11th hour. Because the last thing we want to do is return any funds. There's always going to be potential obstacles that we can't foresee between now and December 31st. And I just want to make sure that we are able to allocate and get into contracts for all of those funds. And not sure if we can give direction to that, not sure how that would get accomplished, but I just want to make sure to give you the flexibility to ensure that we do not see any money going back where it came from.
Yes, I would like direction if you don't mind.
I agree with that.
And we will come back at mid-year and let you know if we made any changes.
And I think that at this point in time, you have capital asset list that we're going to approve within our final budget, and I think there's a lot to pick through within that capital project list to be able to utilize the rest of the ARPA funds, and I think that at least that limits the scope to a certain degree for something that has been approved by the Board of Supervisors that we anticipate to see being done and accomplished. And so that would be the direction that I would give, is within the list of what's in ARPA and within the list of capital assets to give flexibility as to where to place the money.
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you. And we'll keep it within the same department as much as possible as well.
That would be good. Thank you. All right. Let's go ahead and take up our, I think we have, this one should be an easy one. I'm going to ask Behavioral Health. 5.8, approve amendment number 2 to the agreement between County of Lake and Crisis Support Services of Alameda County for after-hours crisis support services in the amount of $90,201.12 for fiscal year 23-24, and authorize the chair to sign. The reason that I pulled this item, and thank you for coming up, Director Jones, is Exhibit B, 4.1 is being changed to say payment not to exceed. If we could just get rid of not to exceed, if I believe that is the only need, that way that gives a little bit more flexibility in case the payment is a little bit more. So
Greetings, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you.
That is the only change that I would like to offer. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, open it up for public input. No hands in Zoom, no motion in the chamber, bringing it back to the board for action with that amendment.
Take a shot right there. Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 2 to the agreement between County of Lake and Crisis Support Services of Alameda County after-hours crisis support services in the amount of $90,201.12 for fiscal year 23-24 with the suggested amendments, and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Chair.
May I request respectfully that we take up 5.10. Craig is at a conference and he is on to be able to talk to.
Let's go ahead and take it. So approve advanced salary step appointment of Cheryl Bennett to registered environmental health specialist senior, and approve advanced step salary step appointment for environmental health specialist senior for Mark Benchimol. And we have, so the reason I pulled this, just to at least start the conversation, I am perfectly fine with Cheryl Bennett, who has a history of working in Lake County and has knowledge of our processes, our infrastructure, and how things work. To start at step 5, she was last at step 5 before she left. And for Mark Benchimol, and I hope I'm not butchering that last name, I'm happy to support any HR or department head choice to bring them to step 3, but I believe that at this point they have a lot of learning to do of our processes, our infrastructure, and just the way that we do things here. And I just think that step 5 is doing what we wanted to resolve by doing our CPS HR work, which was to kind of reset and put salaries at the right place for the right classifications. And here we are just pushing to the very last top step right away, and I just think that's what got us in trouble in the first place. So just wanted to put that out there. Craig Weatherby is on with us. Mr. Weatherby, let us please provide your input.
Thank you so much. Appreciate this opportunity in front of the board today. So yes, Cheryl Bennett, I'll start with her. Cheryl Bennett was with Lake County Environmental Health for 12 years before she had to leave. She left on outstanding terms. She was a fantastic team member. She was a step 5 when she left, and that's why I have presented her for a step 5 coming back. We're very excited to have her back to the team. So I just wanted to lead with that one. But I understand probably the bigger concern is with the next one I've recommended, which is Mark Benchimol, has never worked for Lake County, but I presented him as a step 5 request due to his outstanding resume. Mr. Benchimol has 19 years in the environmental health and safety field. He has worked in Ventura County, Mendocino counties, Nevada counties, and also in Australia and Sydney. Mr. Benchimol holds 9 licenses in this field, which we only require 1, but he also has the National Registry for Food Safety, which is fantastic, and as an environmental health specialist at the national level. Additionally, Mark carries with him 3 master's degrees, which are relevant to the work that we do. And it is because of these items that I find Mark to be well advanced in qualification, and his 19 years of service, while not necessarily to the people of Lake County, are to the people of California and to the people of Australia. And I do truly believe that he is qualified to be a step 5 under our rules.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from board members? Supervisor Simon?
The only comment is that the class comp committee, this did come to us and, was approved to come to the board. The hard to fill positions, obviously, yeah, Mark, I won't mess his name up either, Mark, coming into the county service, meets and exceeds the requirements. So I know that there was a positive vote. That's why it's here in front of the board. Can't speak for every member, but I know it's enough to get here to approve it. So just wanted to let you know it was talked about before it came here.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
How long has the position been vacant?
That's an excellent question. So we are actually underfilling a supervisor vacancy, which has been vacant since 2018.
Thank you. Supervisor Green?
Yeah, and just to clarify that as well, I mean, not only do I'm on class and comp 2 with Supervisor Simon, so I do agree with the committee's findings that both of these candidates should come in at step 5, but an additional argument in favor of Mr. Benchimol is, yeah, they are underfilling a supervisory role. If we can plug in a very highly qualified person, there may be incentive and opportunity to have that supervisor role fly again, and that'd be really good for the department. So can't predict the future, but if we can lock in the step 5 now, that would obviously be a huge win for the department, and it also has some potential dividends down the road.
Thank you very much.
Also, if I can just throw one more thing in there, just because I am wildly excited about the possibility of being fully staffed, environmental health being fully staffed for the first time since 2015.
Thank you very much for your comments. Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. I see no hands raised in Zoom and no one moving in the chamber. I'll bring it back to the board, and I will make a request. Is it possible for the board to make 2 separate motions for both individuals, or it's up to you?
Yeah, let's try that. I'm going to move to approve the advanced salary step appointment of Cheryl Bennett to Registered Environmental Health Specialist Senior.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, I move to approve the advanced salary step appointment for Environmental Health Specialist Senior Mark Benchimol.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Weatherby. Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you so much. You guys have a rocking day.
And That sounds about right. Love it. All right, we'll move on to our 10:30 a.m. item, public hearing. Consideration of the final recommended budget for fiscal year 24-25 for the County of Lake and special districts governed by the Board of Supervisors. And I'm going to skip right over to Ms. Moreno.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Casey Moreno, Deputy County Administrative Officer. So today I have in front of you the final recommended budget for fiscal year 24-25. So we want to present data a little differently this year. And so we took a chart that was developed about 7 years ago with a expenditure breakdown of core services by area. So you can see the law enforcement is about 67% with roads and then the other remaining core services. What I found interesting about this is going back even from 7 years ago, the percentages were pretty much the same, within a couple percent up or down. So just to give you another idea, that's the last year, fiscal year 23-24 expenditure breakdown for core services, which includes law enforcement, roads, and then other core services. And so it's within a few percentage of even the 6-year average. And then to break down by each of the areas, we have law enforcement, parks, ag, and UC cooperative, museums, senior citizen programs, animal control, veteran services, library, and roads. And this is also the 6-year average. So next up we have sales tax. So you can see that it is going down slightly. The Bradley Burns is pretty stabilized, but it is decreasing a little bit each year. And then Prop 172 is going down a little bit more extreme than the other. Property taxes have continued to climb. The estimated amount that we put in for 24-25 was based on the figures that were available in April. And so at the end of the fiscal year last year, there was a bump. There was more taxes that were collected. And so we will be increasing the amount that we are budgeting for 24-25 at mid-year. We also got the AB8, which is anticipating that we will get more, a higher percentage this year than we have, than we did last year. So we will be increasing that at mid-year. Next is the transient occupancy tax. So it has climbed over the past few years. We are anticipating, we did see a little bit of a decrease last year, but we are anticipating to come back up. It may not be to the extent that we are hoping, but we will be changing that mid-year if we feel there is a need for that. So cannabis tax, since the inception, it has been fairly low until 2021, where it was 8 million collected. It went down to 6 million, then 1.8. So last year, when we were developing the budget, we were anticipating it to be about 1.5, which is what we had originally budgeted last year. Towards the end of the fiscal year, it did increase quite a bit, so we are anticipating it to be closer to the 2.5 that was collected last year, which we will be changing at mid-year. So to give you an idea of the cannabis tax allocation by type, it is split 30% for planning, code enforcement, water resources, environmental health, 30% for law enforcement, 30% for economic development, housing, and risk reduction, and 10% to youth programs. So you can see the ending balance from last year is that second column there, or row, I'm sorry. And then the new funding this year, with the expenses taken out, remaining balances at the bottom. So here are the ARPA committee's recommendations. So we have the 3 new projects at the top, and then the changes down below. So the NCO build program, additional $200,000 with the request that we are requesting the discretion to be able to change that to fit whatever a cohort is, if it's the 265 or if they need a little less than that. The housing strategic plan is going down a little bit, as well as the economic development strategic plan. And then the housing and economic development department is also decreasing, with the EMS contract being zeroed out because that it's not going to be happening before December 31st of '24. So with those changes, the approved and the proposed changes, it leaves us where we are at the on the other presentation. So we are still anticipating spending all funds, and then do request your board's approval to be able to move funds towards the end of the fiscal year to reallocate to ensure that we are spending them all. Position allocation changes. There was quite a few positions that are being changed, requested to be changed. With most of the departments are removing positions to allow for these new positions to come in. They are largely higher positions than the positions that are being removed. There is the unfunded positions. There is also a couple changes that I have for the position allocation that is before you today. Would you like me to go over those now or later?
Please.
Okay. So on the position allocation change, there is in Public Works, the financial coordinator, that shows unfunded. It should show funded because they would like to fill that now. And then under code enforcement, there is 2 code enforcement officers that are unfunded. Those were recently funded by a separate resolution, and that was missed. So those should all be funded. Capital asset changes, there's a few new projects, with some projects having increases. A few notable ones are the new criminal case management systems for the DA. Special Districts has various projects, and the landfill expansion project is increasing. And now I'd like to introduce Director Jones from Behavioral Health to give a financial update.
Just real quick while she's walking up, for the ARPA, for the Middletown multi-use, that will cover the entire amount because it looked like that was changed from 192 to 250. Because I remember, at least from our notes from ARPA, it was 192 originally.
There was 192, and then there was an additional
That's right.
191, so we ended up doing the 250.
Another super quick ARPA question. I saw some planning money in there for special districts. Was that earmarked for specific projects to be studied? I'm seeing yes. I don't suppose South Main Street was among those projects. Okay, thank you for that clarification. I'll come back to that.
Do you want Robin to tell you what it exactly was she was walking up?
No, because mainly I'm going to make an ask for something that we just confirmed isn't in there right now, so.
Sorry for the interruption.
Not at all. Thank you, Board. As you are aware, our revenue is from Medi-Cal largely, and we have to submit an intergovernmental transfer of our share of costs to the Department of Healthcare Services to draw down funds. On August 21st, we uploaded $1.8 million to our IGT account with the state, and since then we've received $1.5 million back. I expect to receive between $6 to $8 million actually back, so this is good news, though. It shows that the metaphorical blockage, as it were, is beginning to clear, so they are processing our claims. Expenditures, the biggest increase that we've seen overall in our expenditures is related to hospitalization services, acute hospitalization services. There are increased costs associated with those services, as well just as increased volume. So those 2 factors are driving our costs up, but I also believe that's pretty consistent across California. We have seen a lot of increased revenue. Of course, we're still waiting for payment, but these obviously it's good to see revenue come in. It's good to see the math, and we do anticipate being able to pay off our short-term loans sooner than later, which also is really great. Our fiscal position has definitely been improving significantly. So our goals for fiscal year 24-25 are to continue to tighten up and further sophisticate our monitoring and control of expenditures. We're implementing stricter oversight on hospitalization costs to mitigate unexpected expenses. We're also working on enhancing revenue streams, continuing to pursue opportunities arising from payment reform and the other intersection of funding opportunities. We are also establishing a contingency fund, a set aside just to, weather us through storms, similar to what we've seen before, and quarterly assessments of our financial standing and just health checks, make sure we're doing well. So overall, things are looking really good for behavioral health.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions? And I know you mentioned you want to rebuild or build contingencies at this moment in time in the 24-25. There's no reserves left, at least for behavioral health. There is some stuff left for substance use disorder. Hopefully we'll see some of that funding that you'll receive from all that work that you and your team have done go back into those reserves to help build that contingency fund.
Yes, I would say that our first priority would be paying off our debt and then working on saving money.
Appreciate the update. Thank you very much.
Oh, good. Okay.
I think we're good. Back to you, Ms. Moreno.
So that concludes the presentation. And then we do have one additional change for probation in their account 4070. Do you have the amount? Do you have the amount?
All right, I'll say the amount, $472,821. And what are we doing with it, Ms. Moreno?
So that was, we moved the money from 4070 into various other accounts because we accidentally took it away. And so we needed to move it at final recommended budget, and so now we need to replenish it.
Okay. And what's 4070? Because that's not probation's.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are there any questions, comments? Supervisor Green?
Well, I don't know that anything can be done today. I'm just going to bark at the moon just a little bit. On the capital asset list, on page 1, right up top, I'm very excited to see $2 million for a water line on South Main Street and Soda Bay Road. On page 3, I see our Soda Bay road widening project and the last drubs of funding that are going to need to progress on that. What I don't have is a connection of the dots. The page 1 allocation, that's a $2 million can that we've been kicking down the road for several years. So my question on ARPA funding was, if I can do nothing else to push this matter forward, then carve out a little additional planning money for special districts. I'd love to think that the city will get its ducks together and come up with a modified annexation proposal. But at this point, I think it falls squarely on the county to examine whether we need to spin up a CSA or other type of funding mechanism to get the water lines down there and get fire hydrants in there before we pave this road. And if we're going to proceed and pave this road without the water line, then everyone needs to know we're going to be diving in there and asking for another $1 million a year or two down the road to fix whatever happens when we do get water lines down there. So again, I'm not asking our new directors in any sense to tackle this. I just want to note for the board's consideration and admin and everyone else that there's a disconnect between our capital assets listed for construction of the water system and the project, which is much farther along, to actually pave the road. So it's more of a comment. I don't know if we can do something on the fly to get special districts some money to take some additional investigative steps, or if special districts has it within their current budget allocation to tackle an update of the study that was done, I think, in 2019. But I've been very firm in my desire for fire hydrants on South Main Street, and I've been equally frustrated every step of the way in trying to figure out what the next step might be. And I don't want to burden my successor, Mr. Rasmussen, in that. So that's just kind of a comment. If there's a budget fix to be made today, I'm going to beg for it, but I would have to rely on staff to propose one.
Thank you for your comments. Just going to check in with staff. The $2 million is not just a fictitious number that's in there. That's some money that's allocated for that, correct? I'm asking a question I know the answer to, but I just want to ask it out loud.
Yes, it's the one that's been allocated for quite a few years for that water main project.
And so my suggestion, since there's money made available, that your conversation with special districts would be supported by funding that can probably be used in multiple ways, whether that's design, whether that's feasibility study, and to just check in with Director Bore and see what her thoughts are and what her department has planned or not planned, and what she might think is the right way to move forward. But I would definitely open up that conversation just to see what's possible, because the money is allocated and is there. And I'll agree with you, there's a need for fire hydrants, but I know that there's needs for fire hydrants in every district that we serve, and we need to work on those things everywhere. But luckily, you have $2 million that's been allocated that can be utilized, and so I would have those conversations. I hope that's closer to what you would hope to have for an answer.
Well, I appreciate the pep talk. But that was, what, 2 supervisors ago? And it's just interesting when we squirrel money away and absolutely nothing happens for years. So.
And I would have other conversations outside of this, because there's some background information you may need to obtain to understand maybe why some of this got held up. All right. Any further comments from board members? I do have a brief comment, and I'm going to pick on 2 specific departments. One of them is a division. One of them I've been bugging for a while, but I'm just going to keep bugging until we get to where I hope that we can get. And I'm looking right now at code enforcement under the fines, forfeit, penalties, and forfeitures. Our actuals from 22-23 are that we received $15,000 in fines, forfeit, penalties, and we adopted 0 for 23-24, and we are at 31,250. And my hope is that, number one, I'm looking at the amount of general fund that's being utilized to help support this department, and that change in behavior to better our communities, fines can help with some of those things to ensure that we're not just doing the work for other people and taking their responsibility, but I want to see that number grow to decrease the dependence on general fund, to get also people's behavior to change. I think it's a win-win-win. It sucks if you're getting fined, but we have code and regulations for reasons. And so that's one. The other one is we've all heard multiple times, especially in the recent 6 months, greater need for animal control. And I don't see fines in the revenues for animal control. And I feel that one of those ways to deal with animal control, similar to code enforcement, is to enforce the rules and regulations that we have. And I would love to see a line item, maybe it's not 31-90 fines, forfeit, penalties, but something along those lines that goes along with animal control, because that is one of those tools that we are able to utilize to really gain more control over what's happening in our communities, where animals are either a nuisance or being harmed in ways that we don't want to see. And so I want to see both of those be utilized in ways to better the community, not harm the community, but I think they're being underutilized to get to the changes and the outcomes that we're looking for. And I know there's been a lot of work been done at the code enforcement level. I'm seeing the emails go back and forth to get the data ticket finalized with the policy, and I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it. But I feel that our projection is low, which leaves to the dependence on general fund, which in my opinion doesn't incentivize enough to get both animal control and code enforcement away from as much general fund dependence. And so I just wanted to make those statements because I think that we're missing an opportunity to get our communities to conform to what our needs are and what everybody wants to see in their communities as well. So just a statement. Any further comments or questions? Supervisor Pyska?
Well, additionally, I think we're leaving a lot on the table without the cannabis fines too. When we have violations with cannabis, and we had a hearing just recently where it could have been a significant fine, and so I think that is definitely a bigger bang. We can start realizing those.
Thank you. Supervisor Green.
Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't gently disagree with my colleagues on that, especially on cannabis. If you can't force compliance with the threat of felony prosecution, the idea that you're going to find people into compliance when the people guilty tend to abscond more often than not. You may succeed in getting properties upside down and having a bunch of impacted property owners, and maybe there is some benefit in boosting compliance in that. But I'm more sympathetic to the idea that we take a look at enhancing animal care and control, just because we all know there's great needs in that department. We do want to boost compliance, and if fines can be one of those tools in the toolbox, that's fine, but let's use that tool with moderation.
Thank you for your comment. Vice Chair Crandall?
Yeah, I just wanted to also chime in on that. I think the meeting last week, you seen that there was folks that were willing to take a fine rather than, in some instances, and I'm not sure if it's the amount that's stated, but I mean, if we can get into a realm where someone would rather have a fine than lose their permit, I just think there's a way to fit that in the middle. And also, I know that the issue as well is understaffing. So I know that if there was enough staff to tell them, look, you're going to be fined if this happens, but right now they're just kind of going around and finding different, violations in the county when it comes to just garbage, dumping, things like that. So it's hard for them to kind of go and, like they did when they had the task force and roadmap task, where they were able to go up there and say, hey, look, you're going to be fined if you do X, Y, and Z, and they would cut down their plants, or vice versa. But I think that's the issue right now, but if we can get to a point where we can implement that, it'll alleviate some of the need for pulling licenses, so I just think that that's a good option if we can get to that point. I know we're still working on getting officers, and I think when that takes place, I think we can be in a better position to do that. But I agree with Supervisor Pyska.
Thank you very much. So let's go ahead, and if there's no more comments or questions, let's open it up for public input. Betsy Kahn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Great, thank you. I just want to explain about the road widening delay. There was about $11 million provided by the State Transportation Improvement Program under Caltrans, and Caltrans is not willing to execute that project until there's an agreement to dig one trench one time. That's the prohibition there. The city of Lakeport has had the annexation of that territory in its general plan for probably over 20 years. LAFCO came within inches of getting approval for the annexation. That was it failed because of one property owner that happens to have a business down there. I think that it would be very important and worthwhile to re-examine that whole project and do it with the city involved and come to some sort of an agreement. It is absolutely insane that we do not have fire suppression in that light industrial commercial sector, which is so valuable to everybody in the county, and the bickering over the sales tax exchange that LAFCO has to negotiate is something that the county needs to just knuckle under and get done. I thank Mr. Green for his comments and appreciate the frustration. The other thing about the code enforcement violations and fines and so forth, my understanding is that they are somewhat complaint driven, and code enforcement provides the alleged violator with a 10-day period of corrective action option before they conduct an inspection. And so, yeah, you're absolutely correct that this is not an effective system for actually preventing damage and injury to the environment or to the mitigations that are associated with the permits. And I think that should be examined as well. But please look at that South Main Street project. Please take the time and go in and find out what's involved and get that fixed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. I see no further hands in Zoom and no one moving. I know that I did mention code enforcement, and Director Turner did come to the front row. If you had a comment to make, I want to make sure to give you the opportunity.
Thank you. I didn't want to intrude because, you're all doing your statements. We do look forward to implementing the citation and fine service this year. We didn't want to go overboard on estimates, of course, because it's a new service, so we did go conservative on that. As far as the code enforcement, as well as how we deal with cannabis permits in community development, the board has tasked me with working with the permittees who want to be legal and holding accountable those who blatantly disregard our codes. And that is how we handle cannabis. It's also how we work out in the field in code enforcement. And we do happen to have a very high self-abatement level because we do approach our neighbors as neighbors, informing, educating first before we start doing the punitive actions. So thank you. Thank you for all the attention you give to our department. Love it. Thanks.
And I'm also glad to see that that there was a correction made that the 2 code enforcement officers are no longer unfunded. And I believe that gives you a total of 6 code enforcement officers. So that's great. That'll make a difference. I still see a hand from Betsy Kahn. I'm thinking it's left over. It was left over. Thank you. And without any further comments coming from the public, let's go ahead and close that up. Again, obviously, we went through a much more deep dive process back in June. This is just the quick fixes and smaller changes to the overall. Appreciate your presentation and report. And obviously, everyone involved in making this budget process occur so that we can move forward with this year's services and expenditures. Let's bring it back to the board for our actions.
I see a pair of resos in the recommended action. I will offer the first resolution adopting the final recommended budget.
Supervisors.
Hold on one second, County Council.
Okay. And it would be
as amended with what was presented by Ms. Moreno.
As amended.
Thank you.
All right. Supervisor Simon.
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall. Aye. Supervisor Green.
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska.
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier.
Aye.
I will offer the second resolution establishing new classifications, and I don't know if we amended that or not.
Actually, I'd like to pause real quick on that. and I apologize, I forgot this was one of my questions. Are we allowed to just create classifications without going into any kind of negotiation with, are we just adding them to a contract of an MOU? Because they would be under a union. If we're creating a new classification, do we have a process that we're supposed to follow prior to approving it here?
Go ahead. Once your board potentially approves it here, it'd be dependent on meet and confer with the union, and that's when.
So it's kind of like a tentative approval that we're doing for those two new classifications?
Correct.
Okay.
For the resolution, tentatively establishing new classifications.
Supervisor Simon?
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall?
Aye.
Supervisor Green?
Aye.
Supervisor Pyska?
Yes.
And Supervisor Sabatier?
Aye. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and take up 7.5, just because we just approved all of that that was needed, and that was from last week. 7.5, consideration of change order number 3, Middletown Multi-Use Path Improvements Project, state project number ATPL 5914-102, bid number 2205, in the amount of $247,258.81 for a total contract amount of $1,408,959.29, and authorize the chair to sign. Mr. March, Director March.
Good evening, Chair Sabatier.
You're good. He'll adjust the volume.
And fellow board members. Glenn March, Public Works Director. The change order for the Middletown Multi-Use Path essentially finishes up the project, except for one pending change order that will result from the final punch list from a walkthrough with Caltrans and staff. So the
It's turned on now.
I haven't had the class on turning it on. Soon, maybe I'll do
I
that
apologize.
tomorrow.
I thought it was always on.
Thank you. In the memorandum, there's 3 funding sources for the project. The Caltrans construction funding provided by the Lake APC, as well as $250,000 in ARPA funding. So the changes resulted from items missed or items added as a result of conforming to Caltrans standards. There was reconstruction of a small portion of wall that was required to make roadway slope more safe. And the project is near complete. I hope to have it complete in the next month.
Thank you. Comments, Supervisor Simon?
Yeah, obviously, great to have this conversation today as we move forward. Yeah, basically complete out there. You know, I know you got the small things that you just did to walk through, but obviously the path, just what an addition to South Lake County. You know, it was neat. I saw some rollerbladers out there the other day, which was pretty unique. So I know it's used a whole bunch. You know, when we're talking about mobility, changing the health matrix, you know, obviously this is one. We need another one out to the Trailside Park, but that's down the road, you know, another project. But you know, appreciate the hard work being done here. Obviously, collaboration from Middletown Area Town Hall that started this project years ago. I think it definitely took longer than it needed to, but glad to be here today with the finalization. And just, you know, as we know, you stall projects for longer length. It costs more to get it done. So just working to get these things done, completed when we get the grants is always great to see. But Glenn, thank you very much for getting it to this point, and obviously in support of finalizing this. And thank the ARPA committee for allowing us to pull some of those funds that were just approved. So hopefully it'll be approved by the rest of the board today. And it was a collaborative effort all the way through. Even the tribe stepped up, and we made some changes on design to have a different entrance because we had another new business come in since we did this, and keeping people safe as they move through the community is really important. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Supervisor Pyska?
Well, I saw a whole family of bicyclists and all the little kids pulling their bikes out. It was so sweet. I love seeing people use that trail. And, you know, some people will say, well, there was a trail there, but there wasn't a trail that was safe for all users, and that's the difference. Is this brings equity to the community. This is safe for people to have strollers, wheelchairs. Every type of user can feel safe using this trail, and that's, I think, what the most important thing is always to remember, and how we increase benefits to our communities is that every user can have access.
Thank you. Supervisor Green?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate there's some variations and time does change it, but this is kind of an unusual pattern. You had a change order number 1 boosting it, you actually had a change order number 2 shrinking it, and now we're coming back for close to $250,000. So was it something with how we scoped the project? Were there changes in design parameters? I mean, are there lessons to be learned here? Because this up and down swing, I mean, definitely support the project. That's not even an argument, but it's kind of an unusual change order history here.
I think every time you see a deduction change order that it's a good thing. It means the staff is actively monitoring the project and taking, reducing scope and taking credits when they're due. It was a in-house design. We give credit for staff for designing the project. We're going to move away from that in the future because we do have so many projects, and I think we may have a different outcome if we have our consultants design projects as opposed to staff, which is very busy. So I think we're going to implement more consultant design.
Thank you.
All right. And without further comments, let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. Please come on up.
Elaine Brown. I'm a proponent for local things. So is that true? Consultants could be from New York City or, you know, around the world. If we have creative people, which we do in this county, if they can be the partakers of planning it, it has more buy-in. Just saying.
Thank you very much. I think that we probably, and I don't want to speak for everybody else, but agree that we want to see things remain local as much as possible, but we also have to be efficient in providing what our community really needs today and not in the future. We want to make the changes as quickly as possible, so it's a balance. But thank you for your comment. I see no further hands up in Zoom and no one moving in the chamber, so I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I move to recommend that the Board of Supervisors approve contract change number 3 in the amount of $247,258.81 for a total contract amount of $1,408,959.29 for the Middletown Multi-Use Path Improvements Project, and authorize the chair to execute and sign the change order.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and go through the 2 behavioral health.
Can we do 5.9 because we have staff here?
Okay, let's go ahead and do 5.9. There's been a request. Approve the Community Development Department to apply for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, PRO, Housing Grant, and authorize the Deputy Community Development Administrator to sign. And this was pulled by Supervisor Pyska. If you can please provide your reasons.
Well, originally, I was asking Director Turner if, because this is such an exciting and important grant opportunity, how competitive this grant is. It's highly competitive, and I'm wondering if we need to garner more letters of support or what we can do to make our application the best.
Mireya Turner, Community Development Director, and I am happy to defer input and comments to our Deputy Administrator, Shannon Walker-Smith, and our newer member of our team, Staff Services Analyst Damian Marks.
Thank you. We have known about this grant opportunity for just a short period of time, as is usually the case. And it's been a bit of a mad dash to get a narrative drafted. This is a national competitive grant, so it's a little bit bigger of a lift than what we typically write for state grants. And Damien has been working madly to put together the narrative that's before you now. This is a draft narrative. The way that this grant works is that they want you to draft a narrative and then publish that narrative for public comment for 15 days. So the narrative is now posted on the CDD website with a link to a survey to provide feedback on the narrative for the public and for anybody from the county that would like to comment as well. We can apply for up to $7 million for this grant. The focus of the grant is on housing, preserving current housing stock, and building new housing units. Our goals with this grant that are outlined in the narrative as they currently are would be to develop, well, I guess I should back up and say we've been working with Lisa Judd, Deputy CAO of Housing, and working with her diligently on her housing action and implementation plan, and a lot of good stuff has been coming out of that. And so we worked with her in crafting this proposal. One of the things that came out of a stakeholders meeting that she did with developers was that they really wanted the County of Lake to have a single point of contact. And so one of the things that's in this proposal is a new position that would be a senior planner of housing that would become that developer first point of contact in CDD and would help to walk these new, hopefully new housing projects through from start to finish. And developers indicated that would really help them want to develop in Lake County. The second part of the project is a pretty substantial rehabilitation program where we would, I haven't presented on this new grant that we received in CDD yet, but I still intend to, but we did receive a CDBG grant that was mitigation money for a 2 code officer mitigation team that would focus on hazardous vegetation during that part of the year, and then substandard housing over the winter. So this is going to be, if we get these grant funds, we would kind of pair those 2 programs. We would have our code enforcement officers working out in the community with property owners, identifying those properties that are in substandard condition and need repairs. And then we have money, quite a lot of money in this grant for rehab. So we would set up a program in admin. They would also get a position that would work under Lisa. That would be a coordinator of the grant program where they would work with the property owners to apply and receive funds to do those repairs at their homes to bring them up to code. And then the other part of that is that we intend to work primarily with Build through NCO on those rehab programs. So it's our hope and intention that if we were to get these grant funds, this would be a substantial way for Build to continue providing the services that are so valuable to our community. So it's both, you know, workforce development and rehab, so a lot of good stuff in there. We also would collaborate with the Lake County Community Foundation. We're going to work with them on some capacity building activities, and we know they have several other grants out, hoping that they get a package together to get their 3D printer, and then we would work with them at what our options are on building new units in the community using that 3D printer. What am I missing?
I think that's touched on most of it. Just to deepen into the administrative office position under Lisa, they would be working, allowing the public to apply for grants or low interest loans to be able to do the rehabilitation of their homes if they weren't identified with our code enforcement. So we're not restricting it to just those homes that have already been identified by code enforcement, but perhaps our lowest income individuals in the county that need additional rehabilitation to their homes to
not only bring them up to code, but make them a safe, habitable place. Also, there'd be an availability of a low-interest loan with some guidelines and restrictions for landlords to be able to bring some of the rental properties that may be substandard up to a quality standard of living for their rental inhabitants. So those would have multiple options for lots of different folks in the county to be able to take advantage of, you know, bringing their house up to a standard of living that we all want to enjoy.
I forgot a really important piece, and that is, as you well know, we're in the middle of the general plan update and the climate adaptation plan. We have a lot of plans happening. The last piece of that is the housing element, which will need to be updated by 2027. We'll probably start working on that piece next year. We need the funding for that, so that would also be included in this grant, both the housing element, any CEQA work that would come out of that, and the potential for any zoning updates that would come out of that as well, with the idea that we would be really looking towards, you know, reducing any barriers and restrictions that exist in building new housing in Lake County, and working towards our pro-housing designation with the state, which would open up additional pots of money as well.
So I'm glad you brought up the climate adaptation plan, because one of the things I was wondering is there a nexus with the climate goals that we have for housing? Because we know we have this substandard housing that isn't adequate when we have cold spells, freezes, heat spells, and all of those. Seems like monthly we have different climate issues coming that really impact vulnerable folks that live in these homes.
Definitely. I mean, because we're writing all of these plans together with one consultant, there is, you know, the threads are going through all of the pieces, and climate resiliency is something that we're definitely always looking at in terms of housing. And part of what we will do in the rehab portion of the grant, we will likely include the need for upgrades to HVAC systems, and we're also looking at the potential to solar power those HVAC systems. I believe the grant that Terry and NCO wrote did not get funded. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
I think I feel like the funding got pulled for that from the state. Is that correct? So we're going to look at including some of the ideas and pieces of that grant as well into this one.
Okay. So do we need letters of support?
We will need letters of support. As I said, we were very focused on getting this narrative drafted, a pretty big narrative over a short period of time. So the additional pieces is what we'll be focused on over the next couple of weeks. There's lots of assurances and forms to sign. We need to develop MOUs with NCO and LCCF, and we certainly will reach out for letters of support. Okay. And we also have to include all the public, you know, all the public comments that we'll get over the next 15 days. And again, just to reiterate for the public, the draft narrative for this grant is posted at the County of Lake website, community development page. It's listed on the left-hand side. It says pro housing grant narrative draft. And then below that is a link to a survey. We would appreciate any public comments. So take a look at our document and see what you think we might be missing. And in addition, we would like to get as much feedback, of course, from the board and any departments as well.
So is there a press release going out with the link to that?
There will be.
There will be. Okay, great.
Also, just to highlight, again, this grant is a 5-year grant, so this is intended to be a sustained effort to make a difference in the county. It does include staff for a period of time and funds that personnel, those staff resources. Additionally, the NOFA, the Notice of Funding, what starts with A?
Availability.
Availability, okay, yeah, that one. Was just a little vague on the public noticing part, but it is consistent with community division's normal processes to have as robust an effort for public input as possible. And so we do request then that we are launching the 15-day public review period right now, but we'd like to culminate that in an actual public hearing on October 8th. So we would like to continue this to a time and date certain. So far, Johanna has offered 10:15 a.m. So we'll end with that. But we appreciate your questions.
Well, let us know anything that we could do.
Thank you for presenting this item. Comment?
I was just going to say that the whole draft, including the budget, the whole narrative, including the budget, is a draft. We're not settled necessarily on the bottom line dollars on that. One of the pieces is that we know that in order to get funded, we would need probably a perfect score on this application. And so in the grant writing world, you have to play some games in order to get that perfect score. One of the things that will get us points is having a leverage. So it's not a cash match, but we're able to demonstrate basically in-kind matches that we have from the county to support this project. And if we can get to 50-50 on that, then we can get full points, and that will get us, that would be our best chance to get funded. So we're still playing with the numbers in the budget as well. Just wanted to mention that.
Does that match just count from the county or local partners as well?
It could count for local partners as well, but it would have to show direct support to this project.
Okay, so Red Cross, Climate Team, and Lake County Foundation would be 2 partners, and NCO, the 3?
Yeah, we have the Lake County Community Foundation and NCO's support into the budget currently.
Okay. Have you talked to Shannon?
No, but thank you for that suggestion. I'd be happy to.
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, thank you. Just scanning as fast as I can. That's what happens when it lands on the desk on Tuesday morning. I do see the local share right now at 30%, close to $2 million. That's already within the realm of possibility budget-wise.
It's all in-kind match, so it's a lot of staff time that would also work on the project but not be funded by the project. We're looking at the possibility of what sites in the county have already been identified for housing projects and whether any of those are county-owned and they could be dedicated towards this project. So we're still looking at those, but all of the leverage will be in kind. We do not intend to offer up any cash match.
Okay. I appreciate the survey form on the website. If you're going to have a public comment period, I found the survey form maybe a little limiting. You want people to comment, give them some comment fields, and I didn't see that on there. So when we do the press release, I'd suggest an email address in addition to the survey form. To the extent the survey form is going to be useful, is having some geolocation on it, such as a zip code of residence for somebody submitting would supplement their claim about whether they live in a disadvantaged community. If you can get geolocation in there, you can back that up with census data or what have you. And also to intelligently comment on this big application, maybe backlinking to HUD.gov and the pro-housing NOFO on there would give them, it's a big chunk. You're dealing with this big chunk. So if I were going to come back in October, hopefully I'll have time to read this and we'll be able to comment intelligently. But just reading this cold by itself on the little CDD page, I think it's going to be a little bit dense for people to give those meaningful comments. So backlinking and kind of explaining what this is all about and how that links to the HUD site, I think would give them some of that background information.
Thank you for your feedback.
Vice Chair Crandall, trying to lift up your pen and write at the same time.
Yeah, no, I skimmed through it until the numbers, so I'll look at the numbers. But I appreciate just the verbiage, especially when it comes to like community and local input. I know that there's a lot of projects that happen in the county, and then you'll have the community saying, I didn't hear about this, or anything, and I see here stakeholder engagement, very important, and I appreciate that being put in there, so that way we keep on that, because it's very important. This is very important as it is, so getting ahead of it is the best thing to do, so that way, we're not having any last-minute controversy.
Or delays.
Or delays, yeah.
All right. I do have a question. Why is it, it's not often, actually I've never seen it like this before. Why authorize the Deputy Community Development Administrator and not the Director of Community Development? I know that obviously you've worked hard on this grant, but it's
mostly just because I'm the one pushing the button to submit. So it's typically my name to, actually submit the grant.
Okay. I needed to ask because that's not normal for me to see it that way. All right. If there's no, Supervisor Simon?
Yeah, I just want to make sure when we're talking about partners and in-kind, we're all inundated with workforce for the hospitals, the schools, you know, because they need to get that talent in. Lake County Tribal Health, same thing with recruiting doctors, nurses, somehow incorporating, you know, maybe there's another MOU or opportunity that can help increase that in-kind stuff there, because, you know, we know that there's that demand for housing once we're trying to get those professionals, especially top-notch, the nurses, the doctors, and educators here in Lake County. So I know there's the housing need. We need both, but I don't know. I just wanted to mention that, obviously. And then letters of support out to everybody. I think, all, you know, the cities, the tribal nations, all the groups we just talked about. I think we can get that out in the next couple weeks. It just helps move that forward. So.
Thank you for that feedback.
Let's go ahead and open it up for public input. Anyone wish to speak on this item? Come on up to the microphone or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, bringing it back to the board.
Okay.
One last question.
Please.
Just one last question. Again, I'm just scanning as fast as I can. The basic thrust of this is a staffing up of a program in the county that will do these good housing things, right?
It's only part of it. Actually, a significant amount is going to provide the resources to actually make those improvements.
To individual homeowners through a grant program of sorts? All right, thank you.
The way that I see it is it's a partnership between administrative staff and CDD staff in order to energize the development of housing, and you having the capability to process those documents to get the permits and everything. So I think there's nothing to say no about here.
Well, it's funny because this is exactly the conversation that I had the last 2 weeks at the last 2 conferences that I was at. And so I had no idea you were working on this when I saw this yesterday morning. I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've been asking for. So I move that we approve the Community Development Department to apply for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Pro-Housing Grant and authorize the Deputy Community Development Administrator to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very much. Let's go ahead and take up behavioral health. We are on item 7.2, consideration of the agreement between the County of Lake and the Lake County Office of Education for the Safe Schools Healthy Students Program for school-based specialty mental health services in the amount of $500,000 for fiscal year 24-25. And we have Director Jones. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Board. Yes, this agreement is for the provision of specialty mental health, fee-for-service specialty mental health services. The history of this agreement is that we've always provided specialty mental health services such as individual rehab at the Clear Lake Creativity School for those students, and so we've built the program. We've also similarly done that at the Lloyd P. Hance School, and your board will notice that this agreement represents a significant expansion of Medi-Cal site certified school sites where fee-for-service specialty mental health may be provided. So the program is expanding its reach into all schools for all students who may be eligible. I would like to note, regardless of insurance or ability to pay. And we are looking to continuing growth in the provision of school-based specialty mental health services.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions? Open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item? See no hands and no one moving. Bringing it back to the board for action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve agreement between County of Lake and the Lake County Office of Education for the Safe Schools Healthy Students Program for school-based specialty mental health services in the amount of $500,000 for fiscal year 24-25 and authorize the board chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And just as a final note, just for Supervisor Simon and definitely the successor as well. Hard not to notice that Canocti Unified School District is not one of the school districts that's identified. Hopefully in the near future that can be changed. Obviously that takes two to be able to make that happen. It's not just wanting to have the services there. The district wants to have it there as well, or needs to want to have it there as well, but that's about 40% of our student population that is within that school district. And hopefully in the near future we'll have that complement whatever other services are already there available at the moment. Moving on to 7.3, consideration of the agreement between County of Lake and drug Medi-Cal service provider Redwood Community Services, Inc. for ASAM Level 1.0, 2.1, and 3.1 services in the amount of $1 million for fiscal years 24 through 27. Director Jones.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, Board. Also excited to bring this agreement forward. This agreement represents a contract of our provider network with the Drug Medi-Cal Organized Delivery System. We're delighted to see Redwood Community Services expand their provision of drug Medi-Cal services. They have historically been a perinatal residential provider with their Thule House program in North Lake County, and are looking at expanding to providing outpatient and intensive outpatient services, probably mostly as a continuum from those women and folks that they've had in the Thule House, but also, you know, whoever. There's no wrong door to services. And so this is a great thing for our community to have more availability of those services.
Thank you very much for that. Any comments or questions? And just for clarification, the $1 million is for 24-25 only. We'll get an amendment update in the near future for future years.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. It's so new, we're unsure how to predict, to be honest.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item? No one's moving in the chamber and no hands up in the Zoom room. Bringing it back to the board for action.
Move to approve the agreement between County of Lake and drug Medi-Cal service provider Redwood Community Services, Inc. for ASAM Level 1.0, 2.1, and 3.1 services in the amount of $1 million for fiscal year 2024, 25?
Through 27.
Through 27.
Contract is for 3 years.
And authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that takes care of all of our items except for our calendars, and I don't believe we have water resources at this moment in time. So let's go ahead and do calendars, and we'll see if we can get water resources for the last untimed item. And let's start with Supervisor Green.
Did we do 7.4?
They may be geared up for that.
That's water resources.
Oh, okay.
that I'm.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
I missed one?
No.
I want to thank Directors Padaway and March. Was able to go out on Friday and do a little road tour of District 4. I enjoyed the time with them. I hope they enjoyed it too. It's good to get boots on the ground and just really kind of see some of the issues of concern. Somehow I neglected to take them to South Main Street. That's on me. Met with the Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council on Monday. Had a good chat. We did have one member of the General Plan Advisory Committee for District 4, Ms. Canberra, show up, and nice to see her there and kind of plug in with the community. Looks like First 5 Commission coming up tomorrow. On Thursday, for those who are interested in affordable housing, Lakeport City Council, I'm told, will be holding a special meeting regarding some use of the city's money toward affordable housing projects. I believe there's a project that may be of interest to the community, hence the special meeting. And it's just a reminder that we always talk in glowing terms about affordable housing, but depending on the site and depending on the project, sometimes the community does express concerns. I think that's about all I have until next week. And we're not, okay, yeah, meeting with CAO Parker on the 30th. That's it.
Thank you very much.
I got a tour tomorrow, finish up today, obviously, with the rest of the meeting, and then tour tomorrow of the Artemis co-packing plant there in Lower Lake to go look at that facility. I know I was excited when it was an opportunity for a business to come in. It's there now, established, going to go take a tour. So going to do that tomorrow morning, and then Thursday afternoon have the Geysers Agreement Ad Hoc Committee, 1:30 to 2:30, I think is what it is, unless that's been changed.
I think it's pending Doug's jury duty.
Oh, that's right. So anyway, that's what's on the calendar. And then obviously Friday, I stated it earlier, I'll be at the state capitol with the rest of the tribal nations, you know, honoring all of our flags and the tribes at the capitol. So I'll be enjoying those festivities on Friday. And then back here Friday night for the Clear Lake football game. And then, you know, moving into Monday the 30th and then Tuesday the 1st being back here for the board meeting. So that's what I have.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Pyska?
Yeah, last week we were at RCRC in Sonoma County, and I'll let Vice Chair Crandall report out, but it was a lot happening. There's a lot to report out on, and of course, it's always great to be around our colleagues and have those conversations offline about how we can better collaborate and work on projects together. So tomorrow I have a meeting with CDD, and then an update with OPR on biomass, and then an NCO board meeting all afternoon. Thursday, insurance working group with CSAC, Lake County Risk Reduction Authority grants, best fit meeting, the Geyser ad hoc meeting pending jury duty. And then in the afternoon, the Lake County Rec Agency in Lakeport. Friday, another conference with another meeting with CDD in Conference Room C. Tree Mortality Task Force, Pear Festival dinner. I think I've got something else in the afternoon. And then Saturday is the Pear Festival. I think Sunday I finally get to stay home, which I'm really excited about for a day. And then Monday, CAO Parker will be back. Yes. All right, and then back on October 1st.
Thank you. Vice Chair Crandall.
All right, so I'll start off with the RCRC meeting. I sent some pictures, I don't know if you got them, to put up for the basket. But I'll just start with next week, and then I'll go while you guys get those. So tomorrow, some staff meetings with regard to Potter Valley Project, and the meeting with SLR. There's also a possible meeting with there is a meeting with the Habib Tribe. I might sit in on that. Thursday is the LCRA meeting. And then Friday I'll be at the Sacramento Tribal Nations California Indian Days celebration or day. I'll be back Monday for a meeting with the CAO and for the Board of Supervisors meeting. And so I'll just start out too with the meeting itself. We had quite a bit of different sessions going on. Appreciative of some of the attention they gave to, for example, the short-term rentals. So it was very helpful. We had some folks that were up there that treasurer, tax collector Sullivan had already been involved with when it comes to the tax collector position as it is, because they deal with short-term rentals and TOT and all that. So that was very helpful. Supervisor Gore was there, who was part of Sonoma, and one of the main presenters was from Sonoma, who had a lot of information, and he had some as well. Also was talking to me about rent stabilization and things like that. So that was inspired a lot of things that we're working on already in the county, and it just gave us a little more ideas. There's also a really interesting brunch on Thursday about sister cities. There was because of, if you go back to 2011 in Crescent City, there was the tsunami that took place, and I'm going to pronounce this name wrong, so I'm just going to go to this real quick. Rockin', I shouldn't even, I'm not going to say it because I know how it feels to get something wrong, so I'm going to leave it at that. But their sister city, the mayor was there. It was, what's that? Japan. Yeah, the mayor, he was a mayor from the city in Japan. Rockin', oh man, I'm going to get it wrong. But anyhow, what was really sad about it was when this took place in the city, he had to make the choice to save his wife and family or conduct his duties as the mayor, and he lost his wife in the process. And so it was very emotional for everybody to watch that and to see everybody. There was lots of lives lost in Japan. Yeah, 2,000. And so all that was left was a tree. It was a, what kind of tree was it?
It was a conifer.
Yeah, it was a conifer. And so with that, they decided to keep the tree there as a symbol, you know, of resiliency and whatnot. And so people actually come to the town now all of the time to, you know, engage with what's taken place. They have a new economy that they share with Crescent City as well. There was a boat that was that washed across the ocean that Crescent City students had found. Actually, the sheriff deputy, was he a sheriff or the deputy?
It was the sheriff,
Yeah.
but he's a supervisor now.
That's right, yeah. So he had his son clean it up, and they were going to try to find it, and sure enough, on social media, they found out it belonged to this city and the kids there, and it was named after Seagull, because I don't know the name of it, but it had the Japanese writing on it. And so when they reached out to the school, they ended up making a lot of connections and going from there. So now they share a lot of involvement. They're traveling back and forth to visit each other. The kids are exchange students and things like that. They have some local beers that they've made. They have these oysters that they're engaging with. It's a really, really cool story, very emotional, and we were really glad to be a part of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the delegation from Japan was there, but there was $32,000 that was raised in the auction.
That's right.
To keep students moving back and forth. So every year there's students that are exchanged between the communities.
I wish I could.
I'm going to give it a shot. Rikuzen Takata.
Yes, Rikuzen Takata. Yes, Rikuzen Takata. There you go. And so that was a really cool story to see, sister cities. So yeah, and then there's just a couple other things about forest management, energy agenda. Got kind of contentious in there about that. I'll just leave it at that. Senator McGuire was there for about a good half hour or whatever. That was a good discussion with him, as we know his time's important and the position he holds now. And then there were two minority state assembly and senator, right? And they had a discussion.
Past pro tem.
Yeah, past pro tem, and they were describing the challenges it takes with the rural counties and serving in the positions, but also finding ways to adapt and overcome and meet with fellow colleagues and things of the like to try and push legislation forward that can benefit bipartisanship, basically. So that was really interesting to hear, and really appreciative to be a part of this RCRC event. We raised with our basket, it was $2,200, and then I'm pretty sure that Cal Water threw 1,000.
I think they did throw 1,000 in too.
Yeah, and so what they do is they bid on it, and we have Rex and another guy who do a really interesting and fun job to raffle off these baskets. And before, some group will, either PG&E or Cal Water or any sponsor that's there will add 1,000 in, or whatever the case may be. So so we were able to do the same. And get that. We had a really cool basket. People were really interested in it. We had 2 wine barrels. One was an actual table that I had reached out to somebody to carve and paint for us. And it was a hit, along with the radio. And if you all know Rick Mayo, he makes these radios out of ammo can boxes. And so because there's been so many issues with animals, because someone has brought a dog before, weapons, and cannabis, and so we were able to dance around that by using an ammo can. So just had to, but it's something people were very interested in, and Rick does an amazing job on these. They're pretty loud. They're Bluetooth. You can use it with a what do you call those, solar option. I'll Yes, she has pictures of it because this is, I did a video too, but I don't know. I might just put it on my Facebook so that way we don't have to belabor it, but it's really cool.
And big thank you to everybody that donated.
Yeah, and everyone that donated, you know, that it played a really big part there. The baskets in other counties, you know, it's one of those things where at times there's really high value baskets that will be bid on that take in a lot of donations, but then there's others that don't, but then they take in a high amount, or that, you know, they go at lesser value. So it's interesting how that works, but it's a fun event. It's a good event. They raised over $100,000 for these Monterey County non-governmental organizations or nonprofits. This is also why a couple years back I was trying to run for the leadership so that we could get that here and get our nonprofits that type of funding as well, get the attention of folks to come into Lake County. Nonetheless, that was that. Anyway, I guess I could just post them later. I mean, I know that, oh, she's almost there. So let's see what else took place. What else did? Yeah, I can keep talking.
Well, our basket was in the top producers.
Oh, yeah.
I think the top one was 3,000, so we were definitely up there.
Yeah. Yeah, and last year when we gathered all of the donations, it was interesting because we had a lot more value items, but this year was more presentable. So like, as you can see, there's the table. It's a coffee table / whatever table you want to use it for. The guy that bought it, Bendorf, Mr. Bendorf.
Our good friend.
Yeah, he bought it, and he's like, I'm going to use this in my
His new patio.
patio deck. Yeah, and so you could see down below there's the Six Sigma and the donation from Twin Pine. You'll see the radio ammo can in there if you can see that. That's the one, and we were displaying it for everybody to listen to. They were pretty stoked about it. And then you don't see it, but we had some obsidian that we put in there, three big boulders, or 4 actually. So we just felt that would give it a nice appeal to it. There was some room from Robinson. I put these 2 little Lake County Tribal Health fans just to church it up a little bit. It looked pretty good. It was really fun, and I was just really glad to be a part of it. I love doing that. It's fun, and I'm not gonna do like a motorcycle like other people, or what was it, like a 4-wheeler? Yeah, so.
Squirrel hunt?
Yeah. Oh, squirrel hunts and things like that. I'm thinking about offering a carp hunt or a carp bow hunting. Maybe we can do that, right?
Well, Scott De Leon had a fishing trip.
Yes.
The Canocti Bikes had an e-bike tour. Six Sigma had a wine tasting and charcuterie.
Yeah.
And then the stays at Twin Pines.
Yeah, in Robinson.
And it says Lake County on the top of the barrel.
Yeah. Yeah, it says, it looks like the lake itself. And so yeah, and Scott was awesome for doing that. I call him out of retirement and saying, hey, can you help us out with this? He says, yes, no problem. And that actually is what a lot of folks do that bid on these. They fish. And so whenever they hear Lake County, they're like, yeah. And so on the barrel, there was a hitch, there was a bass, there was a osprey, and there was an eagle. And so then you see all the designs on there and whatnot. And so I'll shut up now.
Good job.
All right. So I want to see that picture a little closer up. That looked really cool, the carvings on that barrel. That guy did a good job. So later tonight, I'm going to be heading off to, I believe it's in Austin Park. A National Night Out is going to happen over in the city of Clear Lake, so I'll go out there. There'll be a lot of festivities. Actually, it's right next to the splash pad, so yes, it is in Austin Park. Tomorrow, we're looking at a Potter Valley project, potentially meeting with PG&E. Then I have a COC Housing Navigator meeting. I have something else on here about Pillsbury PVP
SLR.
study.
SLR.
Is that SLR?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is SLR. I see it there. So I'll be there, which means I'll be a little bit late to first five, but it sounded like you were going to be able to make it, but I'll still chime in and listen in. And then I'm going to join Lake County Fire Protection District's meeting and see what they're up to. On Thursday, the 26th, the Judge's Breakfast has invited Anita Grant to talk. She's really upset because she thought it was a county council position to do this, to talk about the ballot measures, but she's being brought out of retirement to continue to meet at the Judge's Breakfast to talk to them about the ballot measures. So you might have a conversation coming up soon, Mr. Guintavano. But her and I discussed it. We chose one proposition, and we're going to debate it for both sides rather than her just give both sides on her own. So we'll have a little bit of fun at the Judge's Breakfast. Then I have a Hope Rising meeting up later on. I do have here Aroma's Cafe. If you don't know Aroma's, it is over at Woodland Community College in Clear Lake. It's delicious. The students cook up different menus, changing it quite often. I don't know if it's every week, but at least every other week they switch it up. Please go out there. They're open from 11:30 to 1 p.m. Delicious stuff. And then I have more continuum of care meetings, performance project, and performance review. My Friday at this moment is wide open, which is slightly unusual, but we'll take advantage of that. Meeting at Woodland on that following Monday, meeting with CAO Parker to prepare for our Tuesday, October 1st meeting. And that's all that I have. And we will move on to our last item before taking our lunch, and that is item 7.4. Sitting as the Board of Directors, Lake County Watershed Protection District, consideration of 3 joint funding agreements with the U.S. Geological Survey, U.S. Department of the Interior, USGS, for stream monitoring in Kelsey, Clover, and Scotts Creek for a total amount not to exceed $138,170, and authorize the Water Resources Director to sign. I'm going to pass this on to Dr. Upadhyay or Mr. Palmadao.
Thank you for having us today. My name is Angela DePalma-Dow in Lake County Water Resources.
Pawan Upadhyay, Water Resources Director.
And today's item, it's on, right? Okay. Normally, we have one of these string gauge agreements that we put on consent, and that's for the Kelsey Creek gauge up on the mountain. We've been partnering with USGS, United States Geological Survey, on that gauge for many years. This year, if you look at the item, we have 3 gauges, and one of those gauges we have a multi-year agreement, and so we just wanted to highlight this as a board and request your approval on these agreements. So we have, again, the annual agreement with USGS for the Kelsey Creek gauge. Is it not?
Okay, so should I repeat everything? Yes? I'm loud, so, okay.
It really sounded like it was on.
I know. I was listening to it earlier, though, and you couldn't hear some people, so I'll just repeat. I'll repeat. We normally come to the board on the consent item for the 1 gauge that's at Kelsey Creek up on Cobb Mountain every year, and thank you for the board for approving those cost share agreements with the United States Geological Survey. This year we have 3 stream agreements with the United States Geological Survey. So we have Kelsey Creek, we have the Clover Creek diversion, which is there at Clover Creek and Elk Mountain Road, and then we have a 3-year agreement at Scotts Creek and Tule Lake. It's at the bridge, basically. And this agreement for 3 years is paid for through a Wildlife Conservation Board grant we received for hitch habitat projects last year. And so we just wanted to provide opportunity for the board to have any questions, the public to have any questions about these gauge agreements. I will say that the Kelsey Creek gauge is a cost share with USGS, so we always kind of share. It's about 2/3 we pay, and then they pay 1/3 for that. And the other 2 gauges, they're not in cost share, but we are saving money because they're already installed by USGS. USGS is already familiar and doing the calibration on them, the data validation, and all the information that's gathered from these gauges is uploaded into the USGS website. It's also available on the Sierra Nevada River Forecast Network. So all these gauges are useful for flood prediction. They're also useful for flow monitoring flow for hitch spawning season. So there's multi-purpose for these gauges. You will also notice differences in the gauge agreements for what they're monitoring. So Kelsey Creek is just flow, how tall the water is, how high the water is, and then the flow, cubic feet per second, or CFS. The other two gauges have some other parameters like water quality, temp, and this is important because we have hitch spawning in those areas, and so we're trying to collect this water quality information on a continuous scale. So that's why there's some differences in those agreements. Dr. Upadhyay, did you have anything to add to that before I open it up for the board for questions?
Yeah, I think just like saying, I think, so one is like the usual one, but I think the other two are the new, right? Yeah, so.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions or comments? Supervisor Green?
Yeah, just want to compliment Water Resource staff again. They move so fast. They're bringing the money in. So in a later item, I'll be discussing our stream gauge situation, and it may not be entirely accurate because I didn't have this before me. The cost share I get has been historically on Kelsey Creek. So the reason we're picking up Clover Creek and Scotts Creek is the feds aren't funding that anymore. So it's nice of us to do that, but was there a cost share prior? Was it fully funded by USGS prior, or what's the history on those two new contracts?
Yeah, so both of those gauges were actually supported through a grant through the Blue Ribbon Committee. So the Blue Ribbon Committee for the rehabilitation of Clear Lake approved monitoring funds, and then that was passed down to USGS. USGS then installed those gauges and had them in place for 3 years while they conducted their study that was approved by the Blue Ribbon Committee. And now that study and those funds has terminated, and it's way more expensive to reinstall a gauge and revalidate it once it's been removed from a system than it is to just maintain a stream gauge that's already installed. And then we can have that continuous data, which is priceless, right? If you have gaps in years with data, you could be missing valuable information. And so there really is no cost associated with keeping continuous data in the stream at a gauge that's already been installed. So those gauges were already paid for. We are picking up the Diversion Creek, or the Clover Creek Diversion Channel gauge this year with some allocated hitch flow funds that we put aside in our budget. And then the other gauge at Scotts Creek Bridge, or at Scotts Creek Tule Lake, is being paid for fully by a Wildlife Conservation Board grant. So there's no internal funds being used for that. And that's part of the hydrological study for Tule Lake and Scotts Creek watershed. And then the last thing I'll say is the Clover Creek diversion structure at Elk Mountain Road. I did just apply for continuation funds for that gauge for next year through the DWR Stream Gauge Improvement Program, or CalSIP, hoping that we'll have funds for this year if this agreement is approved by the board today, and then we'll have funds set up for that gauge to continue next year. Unfortunately, with the way the funds are for that flood district, it's patchwork funds for that gauge. But we'll try to, and when we have grants and things in place, we'll try to maintain that gauge as possible because it's really important.
Yeah, I appreciate the work again. Yeah, the question was sustainability. Obviously, going from grant to grant, it gets a little herky-jerky, but appreciate you picking up the ball after the Blue Ribbon money ran out. Thank you.
I will say that the Blue Ribbon Committee is committed to helping us find funds to continue those water quality monitoring efforts.
All right, thank you for that. And let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item? No hands in Zoom, no one moving in the chamber. Bringing it back to the board for action.
There's nothing further, Chair. Sitting as the Lake County Watershed Protection District, I move to approve the 3 joint funding agreements with the U.S. Geological Survey, U.S. Department of the Interior, USGS, for stream monitoring in Kelsey, Clover, and Scotts Creeks for a total amount not to exceed $138,170, and authorize the Water Resources Director to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, we're going to take lunch. We will reconvene for our 1 p.m. timed item.